In this video, we're going to look at both the anterior and posterior views of the wrist and hand, and we're going to use these diagrams to label muscle attachment sites from muscles in the forearm that we're responsible for. So the first thing we'll do is identify which of these images is anterior versus posterior. And the presence of this circle here to represent pisiform will tell us that this is the anterior view, and this is the posterior view of the same hand. We can also tell from the presence of only two phalanges that in both cases this is digit 1, the thumb, and we'll label the other digits as well. Okay. So the first muscle that we're going to look at from the anterior compartment attaching to the anterior surface of these bones is actually Flexor carpi ulnaris. And Flexor carpi ulnaris attaches in a little chain along pisiform, hamate, and the base of the fifth metacarpal. So all of those are attachment sites for Flexor carpi ulnaris. We also have Flexor carpi radialis, which attaches to the base of the second metacarpal. So we'll label that as number 2. And lastly, on this side, we'll label on the distal phalange of the first digit, or the thumb. This is where Flexor pollicis longus will attach. And the remaining two muscles from the anterior compartment that pass right into the hand are going to be Flexor digitorum superficialis and Flexor digitorum profundus. So you'll remember that Flexor digitorum superficialis does not pass the distal interphalangeal joint. It only attaches to the middle phalanx for digits 2 through 5. So those will all be number 4, Flexor digitorum superficialis, and Flexor digitorum profundus does pass all the way to the distal phalanges of digits 2 through 5. So that's number 5, Flexor digitorum profundus. Now on the posterior view, the first muscle that I want to identify is actually not going to pass the wrist joint. It's going to attach onto the lateral surface of the distal radius, and that's going to be brachioradialis. So this will help you to remember that brachioradialis has no action on the radiocarpal joint or any of the joints in the hand because it does not pass that joint. It stops here at the distal radius. The only joint it crosses is really the elbow joint. Additionally, we're going to look at 3 outcropping muscles. There's 3 outcropping muscles: Abductor pollicis longus, Extensor pollicis brevis, and Extensor pollicis longus. And they're going to attach to the 3 bones of the thumb in that same sequence. So Abductor pollicis longus, Extensor pollicis brevis, and lastly Extensor pollicis longus. Now in the posterior compartment of the forearm, we have 2 Extensor carpi radialis muscles. We have Extensor carpi radialis longus, which attaches to the base of the second metacarpal. And we also have Extensor carpi radialis brevis, which attaches to the base of the third metacarpal.